The movie starts by showing a girl named Iris lying on her bed as pain from something bothers her deeply. The next morning, she wakes up and drives to the mountains in her car. Upon arriving, we learn Iris had a young son who died suddenly. That's why she's been so sad. She blames herself for his death and wants to end her life to be with him. She stands at the mountain's edge ready to jump. Just then, a man named Richard arrives. Seeing her condition, he realizes she's about to kill herself. To stop her, he starts talking. Look how beautiful the weather is today. We don't get days like this often. This should remind us how precious life is. While we're alive, we can still enjoy things. Iris replies, don't try to stop me. Just let me go. Richard asks, what's wrong? Why do you want to die? Tell me. We only get one life. Everyone faces problems, but we should face them bravely. Iris finally shares, I had a little son. I loved him more than anything. But because of my mistake, he died. I can't live with this pain. It will never go away. Richard says, okay, I've said what I needed to say. The rest is up to you. Do what you want. He starts to walk away. But his words affect Iris. She changes her mind about jumping and steps back from the edge. As they both approach their cars, Richard tells her, don't ever do this again. Iris starts heading toward her car, but under the pretext of talking, Richard steps out of his. He's holding an electric umbrella which he suddenly jams into Iris's stomach, delivering a powerful shock. The force knocks her unconscious. Richard quickly ties her hands and feet, then drags her into his car. Unknown to her, he's a psychopathic killer. When Iris regains consciousness, she demands, where are you taking me? Trying to distract him, she keeps him talking while secretly attempting to call her husband using her smartwatch. Richard catches on and smirks. No use calling, there's no signal out here. Desperate, Iris checks her pocket and finds a small knife. As she subtly works on cutting the ropes binding her hands, she keeps Richard engaged in conversation. The moment she's free, she lunges at him, causing the car to swerve violently before crashing into a tree. Both are dazed but injured. Iris recovers first and attacks again, striking Richard hard. They tumble out of the wrecked car. Without wasting a second, Iris cuts the ropes on her feet, but before she can run, Richard blocks her path. I knew you'd try something, he sneers. That's why I prepared. I injected you with a paralyzing agent. You've got 20 minutes before your body shuts down completely, muscle by muscle. After that, you'll be a living corpse. As soon as she hears this, she starts running into the jungle. But the more she pushes her body, the faster the injection's effect spreads. So now she's forced to move slowly. After going a little farther, she realizes her hands and legs are beginning to stop working. She's getting paralyzed. Each step becomes harder, but she still tries her best to escape Richard. Eventually, her other leg gives out and now she can't walk at all. Desperate, she begins crawling on the ground. Iris reaches a spot and hides, but insects start crawling all over her face. She screams, and this alerts Richard to her location. Before he can reach her, Iris dives into the water. Richard yells, "You're making a big mistake. You won't be able to swim." But still, with great effort, she crosses part of the river and manages to crawl out on the other side. She drags herself away from the water and collapses. The 20 minutes are up. She's now completely paralyzed, only able to move her eyes. After a while, an old man arrives carrying a sickle to cut grass. He sees Iris lying helpless and asks, "What happened to you?" But she can't respond. Her body won't move, only her eyes. The old man gently straightens her and realizes she can only blink. He asks, "Are you in trouble?" She blinks once, "Yes." The old man says, "You wait here. I'll bring something from inside." He returns with a cart, places Iris on it, and takes her into his house. Suddenly there's a knock at the door. Iris blinks repeatedly. The old man understands, whoever's at the door might be dangerous. When the old man opens the door, it's Richard. Richard appears to be in terrible shape, pretending as if he desperately needs help. Without waiting for permission, he steps inside, sits down, and begins crying uncontrollably. The old man asks, "What happened? Will you say something or just keep crying?" Richard replies, my son has died. The shock broke my wife mentally. We were in the jungle, and suddenly she disappeared. I've been searching for her everywhere. I thought maybe she came here." The old man responds, "Then why don't you call her?" Richard says his phone is lost somewhere in the forest. Meanwhile, we see that the old man has hidden Iris behind the sofa. She's right behind Richard, but he has no idea. Richard wipes his tears and says, "I love my wife very much. She's in a terrible state and I'm really scared for her. The old man begins to believe him. But just then Richard's phone starts ringing. The old man freezes. He stares at Richard and says, "Didn't you say your phone was lost?" His tone has changed, suspicious now. The old man grabs his phone. "I'll call the police. They can help you." As he starts to dial, Richard suddenly attacks him, knocking the phone to the ground. But the old man, despite his age, is incredibly strong. He fights back hard, overpowering Richard and beating him badly. But Richard manages to grab a nearby knife. He stabs the old man in the leg. The old man collapses in pain. Then, without mercy, Richard plunges the knife into his stomach. The old man dies on the spot. Richard rushes out of the house, but returns moments later with a can of petrol. He pours it all over and sets the house on fire. As the flames begin to rise, the curtain near the window flutters violently. Something catches Richard's attention. Someone is still inside. He rushes back in and finds Iris. He picks Iris up, places her in his truck, and drives away. While driving, Richard receives a phone call. It's his daughter. "Papa, I'm coming to you with Mom," she says. Richard replies, "My work isn't done yet. I want to stay alone for a little longer." Hearing this, his wife takes the phone and says, "Then stay alone forever. I won't let you stay away anymore. We're coming." Now Richard's wife and daughter are on their way to him. Meanwhile, Iris is still alone in the truck. She tries to open her seatbelt, but due to the injection, her body won't respond. She's completely helpless. Just then, a little boy approaches the truck. Seeing him, Iris begins to think of her own son. Memories of the time she spent with him come flooding back, but the boy's mother soon arrives and takes him away. Moments later, Richard returns. He gets into the truck and drives off again. Eventually, he stops and leaves Iris inside while he goes to fix his broken-down car. As he's working, a police officer arrives on the scene. The officer notices Iris sitting silently in the truck. Richard quickly walks over to the officer and starts talking, trying to distract him. The officer says, "There's a report about this car." Richard responds, "Oh, sir, that's actually my friend's car. My wife was drunk and crashed it into a tree. The car broke down, so I brought a new truck to fix it and take her back." The officer asks, "Can I talk to your wife?" Richard hesitates. No, she's not in a state to talk. But just then, Iris manages to slightly lower the window. The officer turns his attention toward her and starts walking to the truck. He also notices an injection lying inside the vehicle. As suspicion grows, the officer prepares to act, but Richard strikes first. He suddenly attacks the officer, hitting him so brutally that the officer dies on the spot. Without wasting time, Richard drags the body to the police car, pours petrol over it, and sets it on fire. Once again, Richard gets into his truck and drives off with Iris. Slowly, the effect of the paralyzing injection begins to wear off. Iris regains her ability to speak. She looks at Richard and says, "I know you have a wife and a daughter you love deeply. There's still time to fix everything. I promise, I won't tell anyone anything about you. Just leave me on the side of the road and go." She tries to appeal to his emotions. But Richard remains cold and silent. Instead, he drives to a quiet lake. "This is our last stop," he says flatly. Desperate, Iris grabs the used injection and tries to stab Richard with it. But her hand is too weak, she can't press it properly. Nothing happens. Richard snatches it from her and tosses it away. "You're a loser," he sneers. "You can't do anything." Poor Iris begins to cry. "Please, let me go," she begs. "My husband must be looking for me." Richard looks at her with dead eyes. "Never. I'm not going to spare your life." He drags her to the edge of the lake, forces her into a small boat, and starts rowing toward the middle. His plan is clear, to drown her. But then Iris notices something. There's a knife tucked into Richard's back pocket. Thinking quickly, she says, "There's a picture of my son in my back pocket. Please, let me see it once before I die." Richard pauses, then slowly bends down to check. In that moment, Iris lunges, she grabs the knife and stabs him in the face. Richard reels back in shock and Iris violently shakes the boat. Richard loses his balance and falls into the water. As he splashes trying to get back, his gun falls into the boat. Iris grabs it. Without hesitation, she points it at him and fires again and again until Richard finally sinks beneath the surface. Iris breathes heavily, thinking it's all over. But then she notices the boat is filling with water. The bullet holes have pierced the wood. Water rushes in quickly. The boat starts sinking. Iris goes underwater, gasping, struggling. Finally, with one last push, she swims up, breaks the surface and pulls herself to shore. Coughing, soaked, and exhausted, she collapses on the riverbank. She sits there in silence. Tears and relief flood her face. She's alive. She saved herself. However, just as Iris begins to breathe in relief, she sees Richard rising from the water. He's barely alive, wounded and struggling. The bullets have left him in a terrible condition. Richard coughs and gasps, crawling toward the shore, begging for help. Iris stands still, watching him. She could call an ambulance. She could save his life. But after all the pain, all the fear, the torment, and the suffering he put her through, she makes her choice. Without saying a word, Iris turns around and walks away, leaving him behind. And with that, the story of the film comes to an end. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more recaps.